Kindness is the sharpest blade. Once unsheathed, it cuts deeper than fate. She had buried her past beneath layers of ambition and rehearsed smiles. But Tessa Monroe knew that no future was safe when ghosts still whispered. Chicago's skyline shimmered as she adjusted her blazer, clutching dreams she'd fought to reclaim. But fate doesn't knock. It crashes. When a stranger fell at her feet, time froze. Helping him meant losing everything she worked for, or so she thought. Because that man wasn't just anyone. And her life was about to detour into something far darker and far more extraordinary. Some chains are made of gold, and some debts are never truly repaid. Subscribe if you believe in helping people, even when no one's watching. A second, special story awaits those who care. The rain had started just as she stepped off the blue line. It wasn't the romantic kind of rain you see in movies. It was sharp, unforgiving, the sort that blurred the lines between exhaustion and purpose. Tessa Monroe sprinted down Monroe Street, soaked through, the straps of her tote digging into her shoulder like consequences. She was late. She couldn't be late. Not today. The world had already tested her patience with broken elevators, a dead phone battery, and a spilled coffee that now stained the hem of her one good interview skirt. The odds felt personal. She was 5 minutes from the corporate tower when she saw him, a man mid-50s, sharply dressed but crumpled on the sidewalk, briefcase splayed open, papers like feathers scattered by the wind. People walked past. Some slowed, none stopped. Tessa did. Her heels splashed through the puddles as she knelt beside him. "Are you okay, sir?" He blinked up at her, dazed. Blood trickled down from his temple. His hand trembled as he reached for the briefcase. I have a meeting," he mumbled. She glanced at her watch. 4 minutes late now, maybe 5. Her stomach clenched, but she stayed. 20 minutes later, the man was safe in the back of an ambulance, still insisting he had to get to Rowan and Locke. His ID badge had fallen from his wallet during the fall. Logan Rowan. Rowan, as in Rowan and Locke. Her dream internship. The door to opportunity had slammed shut. Or so she thought. Tessa dragged herself home, feeling like the world had tested her morals and laughed at her decency, until her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You chose to help when you had everything to lose. Meet me tomorrow at Le Marais. I owe you more than you know. LR." She stared at the message, heart pounding. Her soaked reflection stared back from the window, torn between hope and disbelief. She had no idea that one choice had already rewritten everything. And this time, fate wasn't done. Chicago mornings had a rhythm, horns blaring, heels tapping, voices shouting into the wind. But this morning, the city felt still, as if it were holding its breath, watching. Tessa sat at the corner table of Le Marais Café, nerves simmering beneath the surface like a storm waiting to break. The bell above the door chimed with each customer, and with every ring her heart stuttered. Would he show? Would this be real, or just a cruel echo of a missed chance? She sipped her coffee, bitter, unforgiving, like yesterday, like the voice in her head reminding her how hard she'd worked just to get a shot. Her fingers danced on the rim of her cup, the pressure building in her chest. And then he walked in. Not in a dramatic, slow-motion kind of way. He just appeared. Logan Rowan, not the man she expected. No suit, no briefcase. Just a charcoal sweater, dark jeans, and a cane that suggested his fall had left more than bruises. His eyes, however, sharp, calculating, scanned the room and landed on her like a spotlight. He approached with a faint smile. "Miss Monroe." "Tessa," she corrected, rising slowly. He extended a hand but then withdrew it awkwardly, gesturing to the cane instead. "Still a bit unstable on my feet. Mind if I sit?" She nodded, stunned. "Of course." For a moment, neither spoke. Just the hum of espresso machines and clinks of porcelain. Then he leaned in. "You could have walked away." "I almost did," she confessed, "but I couldn't. You looked human," he said with a dry laugh. Tessa blinked. "Vulnerable." He studied her. "That's not something many people recognize in a man like me." Tessa hesitated. You're the CEO of Rowan and Locke. I didn't know that when I helped you. That's why you're here now, he said matter-of-factly. We get hundreds of applications for that internship. I only look at 5. This year yours wasn't one of them. He paused, but you stayed. A beat. You lost the interview, but you may have won something better. Her breath hitched. What do you mean? I've arranged a second chance, with me. Directly? He pulled out a slim envelope, sliding it across the table. 2 days from now, same time. My office. Bring your ideas. She stared at it like it might vanish. He rose carefully. There's something rare about people who choose right over gain. The industry we're in, it's cutthroat. We need more people who care. He hesitated, then added, but kindness doesn't come without cost. Remember that. And just like that, he was gone. That night, the nightmares returned. Dark corridors, a faceless crowd. Her father's voice echoing, "You'll never make it if you keep putting others first." Tessa woke in a cold sweat, unsure what scared her more. The past she'd tried to outrun, or the future she was now walking toward. She stood at the window, city lights flickering like distant stars. She had 2 days to prepare, 2 days to prove herself, 2 days to step into the fire she once promised she'd never return to. And somewhere deep down she could already feel it. This wasn't just an opportunity. It was a test of ambition, of integrity, of who she was when no one was watching. It wasn't just an interview, not the kind where you wear your nicest blazer, recite bullet points from your resume, and leave with a forced smile and a business card. This was Rowan and Locke, and Tessa Monroe wasn't walking into a building. She was walking into a storm. 2 days later, Tessa stood in front of the towering glass structure, her reflection staring back at her, polished, poised, terrified. Behind that confident stance, memories still whispered. Her first unpaid internship, the agency that took her ideas and gave credit to someone else. The time she cried in a stairwell when her professor told her she wasn't tough enough for marketing. She took one breath, then another, and walked in. Security greeted her by name. The elevator seemed to rise too fast. Every polished floor felt like a silent judgment, but nothing prepared her for the room. It wasn't just Logan Rowan behind the sleek oak desk. 3 others sat beside him, a sharp-eyed creative director named Sabine, a silver-haired strategist named Collins, and a silent, unreadable man with a steel wristwatch. Reed, head of client relations. Tessa could feel the weight of their gaze. "Miss Monroe," Rowan said calmly, "you have 15 minutes. Impress us." The floor didn't open beneath her, but it might as well have. She launched into her pitch, a campaign designed for a sustainable fashion brand, raw, emotional storytelling paired with interactive digital experiences. She spoke fast but clearly, her voice shaking only once. She explained how the brand's voice could shift from eco-conscious to eco-courageous, how data-driven empathy could drive connection. When she paused for air, the room stayed silent. Sabine raised an eyebrow. "Where did you say you studied again?" "Community College of Chicago, then took online certifications while working." Collins nodded, impressed. Reed scribbled something in a notebook. Logan didn't move at all. "You believe kindness sells?" Reed asked abruptly. Tessa swallowed. "I believe people buy into what they feel. Kindness makes them feel seen." More silence. Then Logan leaned forward. "Welcome to the fire. The internship begins." It wasn't glamour. It was war. Tessa's first week was 14-hour days, 5 client decks, 2 panic attacks, and a passive-aggressive post-it note telling her she missed a comma. Sabine seemed to have made it her mission to test her. Reed ignored her completely. Collins was kind, but distant. And Logan? Logan watched. Always watching, sometimes from his glass office, sometimes from the elevator lobby, saying nothing, letting her struggle, but she never broke. Even when a teammate stole credit for one of her taglines. Even when her idea was shot down in a meeting with a smirk and a single word, amateur. She stayed late, came early, slept on the train, read strategy decks like they were scripture, and one night, while printing slides for a pitch no one had let her speak in, she heard footsteps behind her. "Why didn't you fight back?" Logan asked. She turned, startled. Excuse me? In the meeting. Your idea. It was yours. Everyone knew it. You didn't defend it. Tessa hesitated. I thought maybe it didn't matter. It does, he said, voice sharp. Letting your voice go quiet doesn't make you humble. It makes you invisible. That night she didn't sleep. The shift. By week 4, something cracked. In her, she stopped asking permission. She started presenting solutions instead of questions. She backed her ideas with numbers, impact studies, and social trend predictions. She didn't wait to be asked to speak, and they noticed. Sabine stopped nitpicking. Collins started inviting her to pre-meeting reviews. Reed still said nothing, but he started nodding ever so slightly when she talked. Logan? Still silent. Until Friday. He summoned her with a single email. Office. 10 minutes. She walked in, bracing for another lecture. Instead, he handed her a sealed folder. Next week you lead. Lead? What? Our next campaign. Tessa's throat went dry. Isn't that a senior associate's job? He nodded. It was. She opened the folder. Inside, a brief, a brand, and a campaign outline. Big, risky, global. You said kindness sells, he said quietly. Let's see if you're right. She looked up. Why me? He stared through her. Because you didn't run from pain. You ran toward it. That night, Tessa sat in the empty office. Campaign spread before her like a battlefield. She didn't feel ready, but then again, she hadn't felt ready when her dad left, or when her first job fell apart, or when she knelt beside a stranger on the street. And yet here she was, in the fire, still standing. But something was coming. She could feel it. A complication, a betrayal, a test bigger than all the others. She just didn't know it would strike from the place she least expected. The boardroom was glass. Everything was glass. Walls, table, people. Tessa stood at the head, the city of Chicago burning gold behind her through floor-to-ceiling windows, and 30 eyes fixed on her like spotlights. This was the big pitch, her campaign, her voice. But her hands were trembling. She hid them beneath the table as she breathed in the calm before the storm silence. Logan sat at the far end, motionless. Reed flanked him, unreadable as ever. Sabine leaned back in her chair like she was watching a gamble she didn't bet on, and Collins offered her the smallest nod. A silent, "You've got this." Tessa cleared her throat and began. The campaign, #heartdriven, was for Pulse, a wearable health tech brand looking to break into the Gen Z market. Tessa's concept ditched traditional ad narratives and built a movement instead. Real stories, real faces, focusing on why people take care of themselves. Not just for fitness, not just to look good, but for those they love, those they've lost. It was emotional, raw, bold. It was also a risk. At the end of the pitch, the room stayed painfully quiet. Then the client smiled. It's perfect. Tessa exhaled for the first time in an hour. The fallout wasn't immediate. It started small, a few side glances from Sabine, a weird silence from her team, emails going quiet. Then one morning she found a message on her desk, printed out, no sender. You really think this place rewards heart? Ask Logan why he's really watching you. She stared at it for a long time, then crumpled it. But doubt, it lingers, it echoes, it roots. Because something had changed in Logan lately. He'd become distant, more than usual. He'd canceled 3 mentor sessions. His feedback turned cryptic. No praise, no warning, just nothing. And then came the offer. From Meridian Creative, the biggest competitor in the city. A senior strategist had somehow seen her Pulse campaign before it launched. I want you on my team, the woman said bluntly. You've got spark, and I pay better than Rowan ever will. Tessa hesitated. How did you see the campaign? The woman smiled, but didn't answer. Back at Rowan and Locke, cracks were forming. Reed was cold. Sabine ignored her completely. And Logan? He was nowhere. Until she found him on the rooftop one night, nursing a black coffee and a view of the city. You knew about the Meridian offer, she said without preamble. He didn't deny it, just sipped his drink. Why didn't you say anything? Logan turned to her, something hard behind his eyes. I wanted to see if you'd come to me, or sell the story to someone else. You think I'd do that? Her voice broke slightly. I think, he said quietly, that kindness has a shelf life in this world, and people, good people, can be bought if the price is right. She stepped closer, angry now. Is that what you think of me? I don't want to think it, but I've been wrong before. Tessa stared at him, betrayed. I turned down Meridian, she said through clenched teeth, because I believed in this team, in this place, in you. He looked genuinely shaken, and still, he said nothing. That weekend, she went home to visit her mom. They cooked, laughed, pretended the world wasn't full of knives wrapped in compliments. While helping her mom move boxes in the attic, Tessa stumbled upon an old folder, her dad's files, before he walked out, marketing reports, campaign drafts, and at the bottom, a letter from Logan Rowan, dated 15 years ago. Your vision's good, Marcus, but there's no room in this industry for people who play nice. You want to win? You have to learn how to bleed without crying. Tessa's hands went cold. Her father, who quit marketing after one brutal takedown, who vanished not long after. Logan wasn't just some mentor. He was the man who broke her family. The next day, she walked into Rowan and Locke different. Not defeated, but sharpened, ready to dig. She didn't care about awards anymore, or recognition. She wanted the truth, and the truth always came at a cost. Tessa didn't sleep that night. The letter, her father's failure, Logan's unspoken words, it all swirled in her mind like a storm. She stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, gut twisting. The last piece of the puzzle was in place now, and the truth felt too heavy to bear. Logan Rowan hadn't just been her mentor. He'd been a shadow, a reminder of what had torn her family apart. Her father had trusted him, believed in him, and Logan had watched him fall apart from the inside out. Then walked away, and now Tessa was standing in the same room, facing the same man who had once broken her father's spirit, and was now pushing her to succeed in a world that only rewarded ambition, not kindness. She got up, throwing on a sweater, and paced the small apartment she'd been renting. She couldn't keep running from the truth about her father, the truth about herself, the truth about Rowan and Locke. The phone buzzed. It was from Reed. Meeting in 20 minutes. Be ready. It wasn't just a meeting. It was her final chance. The one last opportunity to make a name for herself or to disappear. The office. Logan sat at the head of the table again, his eyes piercing, unwavering. The others filed in, their faces unreadable. Tessa walked in last, a different presence now. The girl who had walked in months ago, desperate for validation, had disappeared. In her place stood a woman determined to carve out her own place in this world. She sat down, feeling every pair of eyes on her. We have a proposal, Logan said coldly, flipping through papers. A merger with Meridian Creative. They're offering a huge partnership. It's lucrative, and it's our next step toward domination in the industry. Tessa swallowed. And what about the number heart-driven campaign? Logan didn't meet her eyes. That's on hold. Focus on the merger for now. The brand can wait. Her pulse quickened. Wait? This campaign is everything. It's real. It means something. It connects with people. Don't lecture me on authenticity, Monroe, Logan snapped, the first crack in his usual composed demeanor. I've seen more real than you ever will, but it doesn't win in this world. Tessa felt her chest tighten, the anger building inside her. This wasn't the mentor she'd admired. This wasn't the man who had supposedly wanted her to succeed. This was a businessman, a ruthless one. She stood up, her voice firm. You can't just throw it all away for a merger. You said you wanted to see me stand my ground. Well, here it is. Logan's expression darkened. You think this is some kind of game? This is about my future. This is about integrity. You can't have one without the other. The room went still. Reed's gaze flickered to Logan. Sabine was watching too, calculating. Tessa could feel the pressure of their expectations on her shoulders. She had been fighting so hard to belong, to prove herself, but now she understood something else. She didn't need to prove anything to them. The choice. She stared at Logan, and the weight of everything. The internship, the late nights, the sacrifices, the betrayals hit her all at once. Her father had been a casualty of this world. She couldn't be. Logan's eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake." "I don't think so." She met his gaze head on, unwavering. "The world doesn't need more people who will cut corners for success. It needs people who can lead with something more." For the first time in months, she felt her heart settle. She wasn't scared. She wasn't running. She had finally found her voice. Logan stood up slowly. "I'll let you walk away, Monroe, but this is your last chance. You either take the offer from Meridian or you stay here and play by my rules." The silence in the room was deafening. Tessa knew what she had to do. Her decision was clear now. She didn't need Logan's approval, and she didn't need a seat at his table if it meant losing herself. She didn't speak for a moment, letting the words settle in. Finally, she said, "I'm staying, but I'm doing it my way. No more compromises." The aftermath. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Tessa took a stand. She led her team through the turbulence of the merger, fighting for her number heart-driven campaign, despite the corporate pushback. And slowly, so slowly, her passion became contagious. Her campaign wasn't just another marketing success. It became a movement. Sales soared. People connected to it in ways they hadn't connected to a product in years. And as the months passed, Logan Rowan watched. Not as a mentor, not as a boss, but as someone who had underestimated the power of heart. He never admitted it, but Tessa saw it in the way he occasionally nodded in her direction, acknowledging that she had succeeded in ways no one else could. But it wasn't about him anymore. Tessa's journey didn't end with the success of the campaign. It didn't even end with her promotion to the head of marketing. It ended with her starting a mentorship program, helping young professionals find their voices, just as she had found hers. The cycle of kindness had come full circle. Epilogue. Years later, Tessa stood in front of a room full of bright-eyed interns. She smiled, the weight of everything she had overcome grounding her in the moment. "You'll be tested. You'll want to quit. You'll want to give in. But remember one thing," she said, her voice steady. "Kindness, integrity, those things aren't weaknesses. They're your greatest strength." The room fell silent. They listened. And for the first time in her life, Tessa knew she had built something that would outlast the twists and turns of the industry. A legacy not just of success, but of meaning. The end. If you've made it this far, thank you for believing in the power of kindness, even when the world around you is anything but kind. Remember, every decision you make can change everything.